Hello and welcome to today's episode here on Dark Serenity. I'm Tika. For those of you who've been here before, thank you for coming back and joining me again. And for those of you that are new, welcome, and I hope you enjoy the content I'm creating today. So in today's episode, as some of you may have noticed, it's not Friday. That's because it's going to be Thursday, as long as I get it edited tonight, because it is Wednesday night for me currently. I had some technical issues with the first recording of this. There was a lot of sound in the background because I didn't realize my printer was making a lot of noise because I wasn't actively running it. And then my second round of taking of that, I had some visual and audio not working quite right. So attempt number 3. So I'm probably not going to go into as much depth as I did initially, but that's because, time frames. But in this lovely video today, I'm just going to check in on a few of the crochet projects I'm working on, the one knit project, and my most recent little adventures of 3D printing and my first experience with UV resin. So first, let's go ahead and start off with the yarn and projects I've been working on this week. So this week I've made almost no progress on the socks because I was focusing on other adventures. So I'm still just, I don't think I've showed you guys yet, but, oh, don't drop stitches. Just here at the toe box, just starting into the main body color. And yeah, my hand has been hurting really bad, so I haven't been doing as much knitting as I would like to, because I'd like to get this done so I can finish the last of my socks and move on from that part of my life. Aside from the socks, I did increase the square that we were working on in the granny square tutorial by 1 row, and all I did was do a row of single crochets just so that way I could make sure that I had an even count. I had missed a stitch. Don't tell anyone. So I had to fix that, and I made sure all the outsides of it were equal in size, and then I'm going to use this as, again, the base plate for that blanket eventually. And then I had a while ago purchased a pattern from Wickedly Handmade. It's the Wild Oleander scarf, and I bought that, decided to give it a try. I was using some older yarn trying to get rid of it. It's a very pretty baby color, but she looks beautiful. I am giving this one as a gift, as well as the other one made up in very similar yarn, which I'm still working on. It's still actively on the hook. The difference is this one I paired with the cream yarn to thicken it up just a little bit, as the super fine yarn that's in both of them was a little bit thinner on this particular yarn than on the other one. So I didn't want to do it on its own because it would take way too long, and it wasn't as fun working with the thinner yarn for that particular project. Yeah, so far that's been it with the crochet projects and knitting. Kind of feeling like starting in on some amigurumi again, maybe making some more turtles and perfecting that pattern to my preference. I just haven't quite got there yet, so working on it. otherwise, the only yarn related anything dips us into the 3D printing. Obviously, my little yarn bowl made its appearance in the last video, and he turned out great. He, however, was not the first project I made, but actually the 4th or 5th, discounting the required Benchy. Now, for those of you out there who do know how to 3D print or have a 3D printer, I would love to ask you a question. Brand new, out of the box, and it printed black on the bottom when they only provided the white filament. The only thing I could think is maybe when they were preparing the nozzle, some black filament was in there for some reason. Literally was just barely on the bottom of this and then on the little test strip that it does on the side before it starts printing. So, I don't know why. Hasn't done it since, so. And on the second print that I made using the same material, it didn't do that. I don't know. Now, I did run out of the white material. I was going to try to print like maybe the scraper handle in this. But because they didn't send a whole lot after making the Benchy, I made the little sitting Buddha thinking I might have enough left over for that. And I ran out at the worst place possible. So I didn't use the proper change because I've got the Elegoo Centauri Carbon, the version 1, although it's like a second release or whatever because it's got the better light in there. So no AMS, and being brand new to it, I just fed this filament in right behind it and waited till it transitioned. I'd hoped that I'd make it at least mostly to the top of his hairline, but that didn't work. So he's cute. I mean, it let me know if I could transition filament that way, because all I can find when I look online is back the old filament out. And I'm like, no, just run it through on a silly little project. I have made one other Benchy, and unfortunately, I thought about using the Benchies as little swatch markers of the different material that I printed, but decided against that. I don't really love the Benchy. I don't hate the Benchy, but after printing 2 of them, it's not so much for me. Okay, slide back so I'm in screen. But I did print the second little Benchy here off. I got some pink and black filament from Hobby Lobby. I don't normally like to shop at Hobby Lobby, but I saw a post online and I was out of filament, and the filament was on order and it was going to take almost a week, so I wanted to keep playing with my printer. So I did buy the 1 roll there. And it actually printed really nice. The first roll of filament that I bought to go with it was just solid black, which after printing the little Buddha, I printed this. Brother, this is coming out before your birthday, so if you're up to this point, sorry I spoiled your birthday present. If I'm looking slightly this way, it's because I'm trying to figure out how to stare at the camera without like staring at the camera, and it's at a really odd angle. I wonder if that'll be better. Well, I moved the camera, so hopefully it doesn't look like I'm staring off to the side because of seeing my own image and that, but yeah. Sorry for spoiling the surprise if he sees it. I doubt he's going to see it. I don't think my family watches me as much as I would like them to. I have a few people who I know who do, and I really appreciate you guys. But yeah, I made that for him. It's got magnetic spot there. It's a dice tower because him and his husband play D&D, so I made them that. And then obviously I made my yarn bowl, and I made the original scraper and scraper holder before I found out that Uncle Jesse made a print that allows you to put magnets in the back. So I printed that out of that pink and black, and I decided I was doing all of my printer upgrades in this material, which means I have to go back to Hobby Lobby and buy more because they were fails. I'll get to them. But I believe, yeah, the last of my black went to these guys, which are just magnet pens and the Gridfinity boxes to hold them in, that you can just twist the magnets up, put the super glue on, and then stick them in there. And I printed the magnet sizes I have, which turns out is not all of the sizes I needed, as the empty things that I have that should be magnetized are still not magnetized, because they will not hold up where I would like them to hold up at. And then I decided I was going to do some filament swatches, and I found one little tiny guy here. I don't think he's going to come through very clearly. Found that on Maker World, or one of the places I just generally looked up swatches, and that's what the first and the main thing that came up. So yeah, the little guy, he was fine. Couldn't read it because it didn't print very clearly on the word lettering at that size. So I scaled it up a little bit, and I just drew on it with my acrylic marker, paint marker, for that one, and thought, well, that's cute. And then when I went to go back onto Maker World and find something else, I found these really cute filament spool swatches, which the black is just small. I don't have all of the spools on there because I ran out of black. But I did print 2 of them. This one is warped because I tried to pull it off the plate way too early. Beginner mistake. And then I did a little green swatch. The purple one that I have is my first attempt at PETG. And it comes off a little bit bluish, but yeah. But yeah, no, as I said, I tried a different brand by Cookie Cat. The color was called Witchcraft. And I printed its little thing, but the name at the bottom kind of started peeling off and didn't last really well, so I adjusted it a little, and yet again I did over the lines with just my acrylic marker. It turned out nice. The silver I started playing with, I did that, but instead of silver, because that wouldn't make sense to go over silver with silver, I just used a Sharpie for that. It's not perfect, and I think I've come to the decision that I would actually like to do little miniature books, which means when I get new filament, I'm going to have to either save some or find a book pattern that I'd like to use and just print little books out of it and get a bookshelf printed for it, for my little swatches, because I think that would be the most me that I could actually be with swatching. But after printing those, again, I was on the pink and black filament making my upgrades. I printed a little wrench to, well, not so much wrench, but like it's a grease spreader for the bars. That came off really, really well. I watched a bunch of videos that said that the filament runout sensor is pulled a little tight, and so they like to make a spacer for that. And I picked one at random, and it's not a bad little print. I just don't know how to make it work because there were like no instructions with it, which I should have read first. Story of my life. So I printed that. I don't know what to do with it other than it's supposed to go between the two, but I don't have screws or hardware. It doesn't. I'm going to find a different one. On that same note of finding a different one, printed a cute little screen cover. It doesn't come with anything here, and it doesn't tell me what size to go buy, tool type thing to use there. So I was like, okay. And I wanted to be able to have it on my printer, so I don't even know how to do this where you'd be able to see it, but lower corner where the screen's at, I wanted it to be able to open to the outside, so the door would open that way. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, the way this is shaped, it'll fit on the printer the other way. But if I have the little door covering here on wrong, the one side of it is just slightly high enough that it stops the glass from opening. And I think it's because I don't have a pin input here, so I either have to use this without the cover, I'm going to have to figure out how to fix that, or just print a whole different new one. Probably where I will go. Especially since I learned how to get the pink to come out where I wanted it, because it does not come out the way I thought the pink and black was going to come out. Obviously, the poop chute, magnetic version, or one that you can get screws, but the screws that are on it just go right through here. So I'm like, I need the magnets because this is not working. So I have a very pretty poop chute. Can't really use it because it doesn't fit on the machine without magnets, and the magnets I have are terrible. Go figure. Well, they're not terrible, they're just too small. I may only own one build plate, but I have plans for more, so I printed the build plate holder because when I do get them, I want to have it ready. I did print 2 almost full sets of the vented riser that's got this little slidey thing that you can close and open it. I had to print almost 2 full sets, and I still need to reprint 3 pieces. Yeah, 3 pieces, 2 or 3 pieces of this. I gotta double check how many I've got because I've got too many sitting over there. But my first attempt at it came off of whatever it is that Elegoo has on their printer that you can just load into some models. And the problem, let me scooch up real close here. This thing here is welded to it. I almost broke it trying to force this one to twist. That crack that you do see there, I don't know if you can see it. It's sort of visible. Sorry if I just showed you up my nose. Yeah, there's a tiny little crack right there from where I was trying to force this thing to separate, because I used a screwdriver and pushed on the bottom spots here and got some of these to adjust just a little and to wiggle just a little before I realized that this was welded shut. And of course, I printed all of them at once. So I have 4 of them that do not open or close. Kind of always in this base venting state where you can still get some of the airflow through, so it's not great. So I went and found the actual one because so many people had been raving about this guy that I was like, well, I better go find it. And I found it. So the benefit to the one that I had originally printed, and it's the only difference, one of the pieces does not have this back raised lip, so you could slide the lid still if you needed even further venting. But since I now have a full set that will never vent properly or close the vents properly, I'm just going to glue it together and be able to lift the lid off if I need that extra heat release. Ooh, little frustrated, but did also find out how to get it to where I can get this to print the pink on the outside and leave the black on the inside. It's how I had it laying in the printer. So that's going to be good for the future. The other thing, I ran out of the pink at the very end where I was printing only the little end pieces. So aside from the one, they all have a little bit of the black filament on the top of them. But only the end corners, except for the one which I printed separate because I plan to get the little hydrometer, I'm not even going to pretend like I know how to say the word. It measures the oxygen, like, not oxygen, moisture in the oxygen. That's the words. Brain, it is late at night. It is 8:15. Yay. So it's almost my bedtime. Those were the ones I printed there. And then I opened up the Cookie CAD purple. Let's see if I can't. Just the light, just a little. I think it's gonna still show up blue. Okay, it's showing up blue on camera, but it is a beautiful sparkly purple. And again, it was in PETG. And I had plans for it. They failed. Almost every plan that I had for this material failed. I was frustrated, and I will not be buying it again until I have a plan and more experience. Some of the fails were functional fails, so they still work. They just don't work for what I want them to. The first of which is this shiny little tea bag holder. I'm supposed to be able to just fill it in with tea bags here. It does not have a slanted anything to help force them out as some of them do, which might have helped one of the problems, which is trying to get them all down here so you can actually pull them out. It does have a finger hole, which some of the ones I've seen online don't. Had a lid, which I thought was nice. And the label section, you just take a tea bag and stick a tea bag in there. And I thought, hey, cool. That'll work perfect. I use a very specific tea that comes in sealed bags. Comes from Smith's. It's a cheap little generic Smith's brand, but it's one of the better ones that I have. Otherwise, I either have the basic tea bags that come in a box that's got the weird paper in it, so you can't really stack them neatly here. But yeah, they come in that box that's not neatly like individualized. You kind of have to keep it sealed or all of them go stale. It's not the best, it's not the worst. It's cheap tea. Or I go with the herbal teas where you need a whole different type of container because it's loose leaf. Herbal teas. I did mean to say loose leaf, not just herbal. Super cute. I'm going to see if my sibling and their spouse can make use of it because they use a bunch of different tea brands. So I'm sure one of them might fit, hopefully. So it's not a completely wasted print. The only thing I can say on it that I also didn't like, and it's a me dislike, it has this that it said it could hang. Now when the model said it was capable of being hung up, I thought it would like have holes back here that you could just hang it on the wall. I think this is meant to be hung at like a cupboard door, but that either puts it way too low or way too high. And so I'm like, how is this supposed to help me? I don't understand. Not a useful feature. It kind of looks like a very crappy coffee mug though. Then I decided I was going to build some storage components for the board games that I have. Mainly my favorite one, Ticket to Ride. I have quite a few of the expansions, a lot of the maps, and a lot of trains. So I bought not only the European edition, but the basic one. So I have 2 full sets of every train, only 1 set of the tunnels because it's not with the base model. And all of the like little pieces all fit inside of my smaller map expansion one, which I got the India and Africa, I think. It was a dual map 2 different maps. You just flip the board over depending on what map you want to play. So I put all the pieces in there, and all of the maps I own are in the original box plus the cards. It's not the greatest storage system, so I figured, why not build my own that I like? That can do a better job, because the worst part about board games is setting the board game up and people getting bored before playing. Just with counting out the pieces and making sure everyone has what they have, and all the Ziploc bags. Because it never fails, every time you pull the game out, one of the bags rips. So you have to find a new bag, and it doesn't match the other bags. OCD issues. So trying out prints, I found this little guy, which, sorry, basically has a spot, 3 different trays. You can put the 45 basic trains plus your 3 tunnels. It's got a spot here where it holds it in place, so they all kind of stay contained, and you're supposed to be able to put the game piece there. And then the base here has lines that you can stack some of your cards, so you can kind of see them with it sitting down. And I thought that was a cute multi-purpose tool. The problem I have is that when it's all stacked neatly on top of its design with it, each of my games came with 3 extra trains per color, which means I have a total of 6 extra trains for every single color, because again, I have 2 full sets. This barely holds the exact 45 trains, which means those extra 3 trains per set, I have to find somewhere else to store them still. The little nodule there is just slightly too small for the basic game piece that I have. And I did not like how the supports printed here, and it required them because of this overhang. My machine would not let me print without them, despite me trying to tell it to. But because of that, the trains don't want to sit quite right, or the tunnels. They just don't sit quite right in there. I need more tools to get the rest of the supports out, because it fits right in one of them, but all the others are blocked by a piece of plastic. Was not the worst, but also improvements could have been had. Found one of the others, which this again has the same problem with the basic train colors. It only holds 45 trains. So I have 3 extra. And in fact, all of the trains on here are my extra trains. I did, however, like how this secured them. These are much tighter, and let's see if I hold that. They're not going to fall out. I was way worried with stuff falling out there. Now you'll know I did have to hold it down, because a slight maneuver wrong and this slides. They're designed to go into the original tray insert, which I have gotten rid of to store all of the expansions that I have. There's also no specific spot for the little piece. Not a big deal, but also still not perfect. So I continued to look, and I found a cute little box where it slides up. Stick that down, you can put your cards there. I also printed my own trains out of that same purple. One of the few prints that actually worked out really well, other than they're slightly messy on the inside. And I don't love that. Pretty certain it's the material and the decorative kind of design I was trying to do. But I believe I also have the train huts. Yeah. I have the little train huts printed in it, and the little counter piece, which is cool because it's my personal pretty set. But it only has the base 45 trains, because the printing thing, that file I found, only had the 45 trains and the train stations and that. And I went, okay, no big deal. And then I had a wild idea. Why not put one of these inside? And then perfect storage. I get my neat organization. I get a little storage box that can stack neatly. And I didn't think it was going to be that difficult because I should only need to scale it up a little bit. And with the system's properties, you just hit scale, because I'm not trying to do anything fancy with it. I'm just making it bigger. So I pulled out the calipers. I measured my pieces, like the width and length. And then I measured the box using the tools in the system and made sure that the inside measurements matched. And they do. So I went ahead and printed it, this time in silver, because at this point in time I had ran out of the purple, and I will show you why. These blue trains are ones that I purchased a while ago, but if I tilt it down and I have one or two pieces, they fit in there just fine. I didn't realize that that lip was going to cause a problem. But again, these are trains that were not in the original game piece setup, and they're the perfect container for it. I did also find out that in the PLA, just plain, this slides in here so much smoother than my PETG one with all the sparkles and everything. It is so, yeah, to get it in there. But this one slides super nice. So, sorry about the noise. And there's a slight difference. I don't think I want to go too much larger than this, especially if I do this style design. So I'm looking at a few other options because I want a custom box that's functional for me, but I don't need it to be huge. I'm not also trying to go itty bitty, so a little bit better design would be nicer. So the reason I ended up switching over to the silver, which I had whole different plans for, was I was trying to again use up that purple PETG. Nothing was working. And I have a couple of yarn prints that I will show you why nothing was working. Before we get there, I'll show you where I ran out. I decided I was going to make little infill examples so I could do something decorative, and when trying to see what an infill pattern looked like, I would have an example. And I could see every single thing my printer could do and what difference it made. Well, I wanted a honeycomb one, but the honeycomb pattern I could find with all the names on it was great, but required an AMS, which as I said before, I don't have. So searching around, I found these little circular pucks, and I printed a whole bunch. Some of the patterns look identical, as in I couldn't tell you if it was different from it or if it just printed two of the same pattern. So now the reason I didn't just use my printer to change the color scheme and be like, print it all in one color. Any changes I tried to make in the system reset all of the pattern infills to the default infill and removed all of the presets where you could have the different patterns, because it was a Bamboo Labs one and it hates me. It's fine. Well, totally fine. I decided I wanted something a little bit more, because clearly if I couldn't tell this pattern from this pattern, it's probably due to the percentage. And I saw some other options, which I actually quite like. So it's just got the different pattern types. So like the zigzag, it goes from 5% all the way up to 45%. And it let me know that there are some patterns where that would actually be helpful, and at certain percentages, it'll be faster, for sure. Like the triangles at 5%, you're barely getting any support or infill, but you're barely getting any infill. Or like Arcadian chords. It's got like 2 lines there. But as you get further down, it gets way more dense. Makes sense depending on what you're printing. And you can see the spot where I ran out and changed to silver, because like the little discs, there was a lot of these. And some of them taught me that under no circumstances should I be using 5% concentric. It's empty with a barely little square at 10%. That's one that at minimum I'd probably have to choose to do 15% or higher, because I would, oop, I already broke it. I'm gonna put those down. Oops. Mistakes were made. But because, again, I do a lot of yarn related stuff, I wanted yarn projects, or rather stuff that could help me with my yarn projects. Namely, when I get down to the very end of a skein, I like to be able to roll it up into a little tiny cake. And that's not even a very good cake. I have better ones. So it's just a very itty bitty cake. And it makes for a good way to store my scrap yarn, as well as yarn that I have very little bits left of. I want to create a cute little pegboard, and you know how you see the big yarn walls? Kind of want to do one with my little scraps. And then when I have enough of a certain type or project in mind, I can do the scraps. Or I'm doing amigurumi and I just need just a tiny bit of an eye color. I can pull some from my scrap yarn and see it easily. So I thought that'd be great. Unfortunately, my yarn winder, great for large skeins of yarn, terrible if you want to make a little itty bitty one. I don't own a Nasta pin, which, for those of you who don't know what a Nasta pin is, it's basically a really fancy stick to wind yarn manually. So I typically use just a marker, a pencil, whatever, and I get my cute little cakes, but it's a little bit tedious and I would love to be able to use the automatic winder. So I thought, ooh, I'll go online and find one, because I have a 3D printer. Why not? Found this guy. Perfect size. Like, hello, perfect. Matches. It goes on. And that's where it all fell apart. All of it. Try as I might. Slowly winding, fast winding, guiding the yarn, I get yarn barf. And it is horrible to get yarn barf before you even pulled it off of the stick. What do I mean by that? This is the blue I tried to wind. This little patch here, this little patch here, that's how it wound. So now when I go to use this, I have an awful barf section that I have to deal with first. So looking forward to that. So obviously, that's not working out. And I did give it several tries. Several tries, more than I should have. Well, while I was playing with that, I was also printing a new yarn winder, because I thought if my yarn winder doesn't work with that, maybe I'll just print a new one. And so I did. There it is. I found the Yarn-O-Matic. It's a little bit thicker in size, but not bad, considering that the holes always collapse a little bit. I thought that might be perfect. It might treat the problem of the weird too skinny yarn barf issue. That could be perfect. Now this is the second one I printed. This is the silver. I did print the first one in purple, and what I have found as the best use for these, because they didn't work on my 3D printed yarn winder, but when I print on, or not print, but when I wind on this one, I can stick that there, and now my cake is all beautifully wound and sitting on the shelf until I'm ready to use it, without that center hole collapsing. And I can still find the yarn tail, which is great. Unfortunately, it does mean I have two of these that just don't work for me. And I was upset at that because I printed it several times. Now, the little bracket here that attaches the table, wonderful. Wonderful bracket. It didn't budge. Cranked it on tight, held. I could get some of the pieces to work right now. This isn't even all the pieces because I had to throw some away. But the batch that I threw away was a me problem because I didn't read the instructions. And the instructions tell you that one screw is a left-hand thread, and I was trying to force it right hand. It did not work. Turns out I don't know how gears work. I mean, I do, but I don't feel like I do after screwing that one up. But I pulled as many pieces apart, salvaged it as much as I could. The screw that comes out of here and goes in, snapped on that one. Managed to save it. Again, I was working with the purple one at the time. And I reprinted the screws. I added some wall thickness because all my online sites say it's the wall thickness that actually makes them more durable. So I added more wall thickness. I added a little bit more infill because I'm like, strength can't hurt for a screw. Played around with different things from watching a bunch of different videos on how to make good screws. None of them worked. Almost every bolt snapped. More accurately, the first bolt that always snapped, and it was always the pain in the butt one, is the guy that came through here. Now, I couldn't even get the wheel to crank on the first couple rounds with the purple screws. When I ran out of the purple material, I made some screws in the silver PLA going, whatever. And then the lower crank would crank. It would actually rotate because I tried the recommendation of putting lube in there. It didn't crank. Like it would, but it was like slow and painful. The tolerances weren't right or whatever. It was a pain. After putting the silver bolts in, I could get it to crank easily. It was fun. It was easy, and I was so excited. But when I go to put this on, the teeth weren't catching right on the purple one at all. So thinking, hey, printing it in PLA helped with the screws. Maybe I'll try it with the spindle. It did not help. I broke 4 more screws before I said, screw this. Yeah. I'm trying other methods. I found a couple different more yarn winder containers, such as this guy. Very similar in size. Also, you can see where I changed from silver to green because I ran out of silver. I did only buy like an $8 small itty bitty tiny roll because I was trying out the colors. and I didn't want to commit to something I wasn't certain of. So all the project plans I had for the silver are on hold until I get more silver, because I actually do like it. But then I switched to the green because it was a test print and I don't particularly care for green. My siblings upset that I didn't let them know I had the neon green because, oops. I'm gonna have to leave that in. Oh, this is why I don't hold on to things as I fidget and I break things. I would try to glue that back to, I might not try to glue it back to, it's fine, it failed anyway. This piece was practically perfect, and I actually might be able to use that in winding and just holding it off to the side on some. I'll keep that. This bit here, it was too small. Now I measured the outsides of here using the calipers, and I must have hit somewhere wrong because like I think I got it barely at the edges of the little tabs, which do in fact match. Yeah, that must have been where I measured. The circular diameters, not the same. This guy could fit inside here, which would be great if I was trying to make this work on a smaller thing, but it doesn't work. Now, mind you, I tried a few others and I stopped them blessedly at just like the little itty bitty ring portion, because I realized when it was printing them that there was no way that the increasing I had done on these was remotely the right size. But I increased it finally to the right size here and I went, that'll work. No. Well, my sibling had this little tiny yarn winder. This guy has got some breaks and cracks in it, so I was like, maybe this will fit on top of it. And it does, because it's too large. But these ones are both too small. Yeah, they're too small. So I've either got too large or too small. I can't win. I have seen other designs for this, and I have reached out. I haven't heard back, but I have reached out to the designer asking if there was a way to make this post thicker. Because if this was thicker like some of the others, I think it would be fine. Or if I could build it into another machine that has a better way of winding something. It's not working. I'm going to insert some clips here. If I can get both pictures in. Otherwise it's one and then the other. But I have the protector for around the spool so it doesn't scrape up the side of my printer. And then I have the tools and glue holder. I don't love them. They're not perfect. But they were the first ones I saw and I was like, and then I saw a better one. Because issues with that, doesn't hold my little grease stick. It doesn't hold my little deburring tool. Just doesn't. So it doesn't hold all the tools I need, which I could print new ones, new tool holders or whatever and attach, but I don't want to. I have printed a couple other things, but they're more for my mother as well as my future self. Gridfinity ruler, using some of that green filament. And then all of the rest of this is pretty much done up in green, except for that, which has a little bit of another color. It's the larger bin. It's just a 4x4 or 2x4, 2x2. It's got 4 bins. It's a 2x2. I know it. It is late. Basic empty bin. Bin that's supposed to be for like antibiotic ointment, the good stuffs. Little med bottle holder. So if you can't tell, I'm trying to redo her medicine cabinet to make it more functional so she can see what she can get. It would be helpful to be able to see what's in there and what's not, and be able to be of help for when she needs it, if she needs it. Then of course, the base. And just a little can opener for her cat food. She doesn't need these yet, but I would rather have accessibility tools available and ready for when she does, because we're all going to age and we're all going to need these things eventually. I'd rather her have it and not need it right now, but when she does, or on a day when arthritis flares up or whatever, keep functioning, doing what she wants to do for as long as she wants on her own. And then the last print that I currently have done, well, prints, are also for my sibling, the one who would have preferred them in the green, but they are what they are. Some little tags for tying on a skein, where when I'm done winding it, I could run the string through it and tie it there. And then that last little string that you wind around, you can find it and loop it through, so you can always tell where your ends are at, or where it's the start. Just cute little tags. Only printed the 2 because that's all they wanted for right at the moment. See if they like it or if it works well for them, I'm guessing, before buying more. And I haven't even pulled all the supports off of this beautiful little print, and this one is a very beautiful print. That did not... Oh, that's just support. Okay. I was gonna say there was a spot that didn't print well. It's just the support sticking to it a little bit. It's fine. But cute little yarn ball. Now I've got to go through here and clean up some of this so that way the yarn actually slides through like it's supposed to. But otherwise, that's just a little dragon egg yarn bowl. And it's adorable. I'm also 3D printing them some crochet hooks that are interchangeable. Or I will be as soon as I'm done with this video, because, yeah. Anyway, you know, I'm just going to leave... no, I can't leave bloopers in. Ignore the earlier segment where I said I was going to post some stuff. I'm just going to move the camera, take an image. You'll get what you get. I'm not even going to edit this. It's going to be terrible. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But it is currently 8:45 and I have to be up at 3:30 in the morning. So I would like to wind down and go to bed. So, pausing for a moment, moving camera. Okay, this is terrible. I am doing terrible. But that is the cute little tool tray. And it holds most everything, but not everything. And then right here, we've got the last of the purple filament and that lovely 3D printer cover. So, let me get me put back over here. Sorry about the swirls. It's fine. Look at my pretty empty seat. I'm fine. Everything's fine. It's a disaster zone. Okay, so adjust the camera just a little so that we... That did not work. I am doing great. Let's put this back over here on the right computer monitor for this. We're at a whole new angle. You get to see my yoga mat. Yay. It's late. If I have any hope of posting this very raw footage video, I hope you like it. Or don't. if you've made it this far, thank you so much. And apparently you at least liked it a little bit. But yeah, that's probably going to be the end of this for tonight. I'm going to go ahead and get this posted, like I said, so I can go ahead and get to bed. Start the other prints that I need to start before going to bed, though. Anyway, have a wonderful night. Thank you guys for joining me. I hope your Thursday is awesome. I'm going to try to keep better up with the 3D prints so it's not so in the future. But anyway, you guys have a wonderful day, night, weekend, whatever. If you haven't, like, subscribe, comment, all the fun stuff.